OpenAI released a new product called Codex. This is specifically optimized for software engineering, and it's a software engineering agent that can work on many tasks. It has two major features. It has ask and code. This is what the interface looks like. You can select the repository, you can select a branch, and you have the ask and code. For ask is when you want to get context about the repo or you want to get clarity on some things. For code is when you can give it a specific task, and once you select the code feature, it actually delivers the task. Now, if we see what they actually did say about Codex, it's that it can perform tasks for you, such as writing features, answering questions about your code base. So basically, it's to aid software engineering and to help software engineers actually get over the repetitive and mundane stuff. Currently, this is like their first iteration, and it's powered by Codex One, a version of OpenAI O3 optimized for software engineering. So this is actually more optimized for software engineering, and this was how it was trained. How it works is a bit technical, and they are basically describing at a very high level the features available, which is the code and ask. Once it completes, it commits the changes, and it can definitely raise pull requests on GitHub. So they have a very good integration with GitHub. GitHub is where repositories are stored. For software engineers, they're very familiar with this. And because OpenAI has a good partnership with Microsoft and Microsoft owns GitHub, so this explains why the seamless integration is there. It's quite an interesting tool, and having to directly be able to have something from your web interface to be able to achieve a task and raise a pull request directly is quite good. And this is a bit about the performance. So for the performance, this is what they said, and they compared it with the O3i. O3i is also very good with difficult coding tasks too. And this, it says that as the number of attempts increases, they tend to converge. So if you have to retry and repeat tasks, at some point, Codex and O3 achieves the same performance. With the internal suite task, Codex seems to be the best model. That if the task are specifically designed for software engineering. So this is like an internal testing for OpenAI, and it has the highest frequency compared to their previous model. Safety and trust, which is very important, and this is very important to ensure that this tool is not being exploited, and to ensure that whatever code or whatever is being produced by this is trustworthy. I believe for this, it will still be very important for like the engineers to review whatever is being generated and see how that works. So users can check to increase the safety. They actually provide like a way to see how the agents generated the results or how the agent came about the codes and everything. So users can check Codex, walk through this and this. And the Codex also explicitly communicates this issue. So if Codex runs into an issue, it ensures that it communicates that and doesn't cook up fake stuff. So this is a bit on alignment, and this is what the changes are with Codex and with O3. And the claims here are Codex are a bit better. Abuse is very important to ensure that this is not being used to develop malicious software or is being attacked wrongly. So they have some safeguards in place, which is quite great. So if we look at other things, some of the early use cases, they have some videos on how it's being used, and they claim that their technical teams are already using this for well-scoped tasks, which is quite interesting in and of itself. And the ability to ensure that if this can deliver on very small, well-defined tasks, is going to save a lot of time. So they have some demos. You can go ahead and watch the demos to see how different teams are using it and what results they achieve. They also have different of their customers and what their customers are claiming Codex have been able to achieve with it. So these are the updates. They have two, these are just updates about where or what and the different outputs. One is the CLI and there's also API. Now for availability and pricing, how to actually access Codex. Currently, there are like two major ways. We will check that in a minute, but you can use the API, but it's currently just available to Pro, Enterprise, and Team. So if you select the link, you'd see that they have the Codex. This one you can use from the browser, and this one is like a CLI. So for the browser one, you need to have like ChatGPT Pro or Enterprise and Teams, I do believe over time they would ensure it comes down to the lower tier, like the Plus, and maybe limit it for the free ones. But currently, it's only available for users with the ChatGPT Pro, which currently goes at like $200 to $300. So if we quickly go back, that's how to access it. And it's also available if you have a pro subscription, you'd access it the way you actually go to chatgpt.com and you see Codex there. And these are some of the things to expect, what they have, the limitations, and what they expect to happen. So it's quite interesting what it's doing so far. And they are currently in talks, or there are claims that they are in talks with Winsoft. So looking at this is long term, the plan is to have agents that can actually execute coding tasks efficiently and also save time and improve the deliverables in terms of software engineering. So it's quite interesting. And some of the things they have or the type of interaction they are aiming for is the real-time pairing and task delegation convergence. So at some point, it would be difficult to tell whether you're working like with a virtual or you're working with an actual software engineer. So it's the borderline they're trying to describe here. So it's to ensure that at some point, this whole collaboration with these agents becomes so seamless that it's almost difficult to tell whether you're working with an actual human, because once the tasks are defined on, say, whatever ways you're using to define task, you assign it to the agent picks it up, delivers, and things move faster. So on the good side, this saves time, this adds more value. On the other side is to think about how efficient this is, if the codes are going to be very good, if the code are going to be secured, and if it's not going to cause more harm than good. At the same time, it would require, at least for the first few iterations, it will require humans or software engineers to actually manage the code and check things out. Also, for some time till it gets it right, there might actually be issues with some of the codes that get into like production environment. So it's also quite interesting to see how some of these codes get tested, because if you have the AI writing the code and the AI writing the test, it's quite an interesting thing to see how that plays out long term. But it does save time, it does help achieve more in a short duration of time. So it's quite interesting, and this might be pretty pricey, but in terms of value, it's quite a good one. Excited to see the iterations that come out of this. That's it for this video. Bye.